What's the best polishing pad to use on my car? Adam here from lovecars.co.nz, and this is a question we get asked a lot. It's also a question that's really hard to answer, so I thought I'd make this video to help explain it so that you can decide what the right option for you is. Now, it's important to know that paint is different from different cars. European cars like BMWs, Audis, all tend to have very hard clear coat. So you need a much more aggressive pad combination to polish that out than you would on a car that's got soft clear coat. Most Japanese cars, Korean cars, Asian cars tend to have softer clear coat. Holdens, Fords, they tend to be a bit in the middle. So you need to adapt your approach to get the best result as fast and easily as possible. There's also the difference between whether you want to do a two-step or a one-step polish. Two steps traditionally would use polishes that have got big chunks so that they would have more abrasives to remove more paint faster. But then in doing so, those larger chunks would leave marks behind that you could see, so you'd need to go back over a second or third time with finer polishes to take those out, hence doing a two or a three-step polish. Whereas a one-step polish would traditionally not remove as much, but you would see a very smooth flat surface after just the first polishing step. Now what's exciting for me anyway, and I think for you, is that polishes have changed a lot over the last few years. And I've got a brand here that's new for us and new for everyone, I think, Autostolz. They're made in Germany, and they have a different approach to creating polishes. So traditionally you would be able to feel with your fingers with a polish, and if you could feel real strong grit, then that would be an aggressive polish, whereas a final finish polish, you rub it and it would feel like body lotion. All of their polishes, even their aggressive one, you rub it in your fingers and it feels smooth like body lotion, and you think, how is that going to take anything away? Surely there's no grunt to this. And you may see in some of my other posts that we tested it, and their one step did really take out 2000 grit sandpaper marks to a really high shine. So the technology that's in these is very impressive. Instead of just relying on particle size, they're relying more on particle hardness. So they're making the particles diamond hard but tiny, just really, really micron sort of nano type particles that are really, really small. So it can polish and remove away quite a lot, but the marks that are left behind you normally can't see with the human eye. So you can get in a one step what normally would take you 2 or 3 steps. Very, very impressive polishes. Now I've pulled out the range here because it fits, I think, quite well for people trying to get their head around polishes, because to me it just makes sense. Now they have a heavy cut, a final finish, and an all-in-one polish. And then they have different pads for if you're going to do a two-step polish or if you're going to do a one-step polish. And then they have another soft, the black cloud, for really soft final finishing paint. And I'm going to go through these in a bit more detail. But if you don't want to watch the whole video and you just want to cut to the chase, Adam, if you're going to do a two-step, I'd do that. And if you're going to do a one-step, I would do that with one of these pads, European standard paint, Asian paint. Because at the end of the day, you don't really need to know what suits everyone's car. You just want to know what's the best thing to do for your car. Now, if you've got a lot of time, or you're trying to get really bad defects out, or you're trying to get to an absolute showroom shine, then I would really probably do a two-step polish. You've got a heavy cut polish here that you would pair up with a heavy pad. Their white pad, or the after dinner mint as I call it, is quite a advanced pad. You'll hear a bit about people talking about open cell. So this top layer, if I blow through it, air will flow through quite easily, and that's really good for cooling, so that the pad, there's a lot of friction as you're polishing, so pads get really hot. So the open cell allows the air to flow. It also allows it to hold more polish as opposed to polish just sitting on the surface in a closed cell. What's different here to a lot of cutting pads is this has got dual layers. So this red layer is a really firm closed cell thermal layer. So that's designed to isolate the heat and to hold up to high heats to keep good structure of the pad. When you're polishing, you want to have the pad flat on the surface. You don't want it flopping around as it gets hot. So the red layer here really helps to keep the pad flat and hold up to that heat, because your cutting pad gets the most heat inside it. The other thing that's quite cool, if you look in there, you can see hopefully little cross hatches come out, and you can see that more on a dirtier pad there. You can see these little lines that are really fine. Now what that does is, as you're polishing, that will open up. Now traditionally for a heavy cut you would have used a wool pad. Wool pads can cut really well because of the fibers in them as they flip around. The downside to wool pad is that they can get really hot, they don't cool as well, and they can also leave marks and holograms in that if you are not used to polishing with them. What they're trying to achieve with these pads and these cross hatching is that those will have the advantages of being easier to use, holding up to heat, and a longer pad life of a foam pad, but they'll open up so that you've got more surface area and you've got more contact and sort of emulating the strands you would get on a wool or a microfiber pad, but in a foam. So it just improves the cut a little bit more. It also allows it to hold inside those grooves polish, so the polish or compound will, you can hold more on the pad and you can get more contact on that there. This is a really quality pad. All of Autostolz's pads are made in Germany, and you can really feel the quality when you look at them. So that would be for the first step, and then for the second step they have a flat, so it's not cut out, polishing pad here that you would use with the, the final finish, which is a blue liquid. And yeah, this pad here, you also note that little square bit there, that's to stop pad roll, and that helps. It's quite interesting when you learn more about pads how tiny little things like that can make quite a difference to the pad. But it's still a very firm pad, like it's a soft finishing pad, but it holds structure as you're going, so it allows you to get a really good high shine. And if you're doing a two-step, regardless of the paint, this is a combination that's really hard to go past. Now if there's really bad defects you might need to sand before that, but that combination is really good. But most people are not going to do a two-step. They really just want to get the best results they can quickly, and that's where this is a really exciting product. It's a one-step polishing compound. Now it's kind of quirky because polish and compound to me is the same thing, but compound is more aggressive than polish. So a compound would be a more aggressive polish. Also made in Germany, just like the pads. Now the approach they take here is they say, well, here's a one-step polish. It will take out up to 2000 grit, which I tested, and it did, which is very impressive. And when you rub this in your fingers, like that, it's like a body lotion. I don't know if you can kind of see it. It doesn't look aggressive at all, but it really works. And you'll see some of the reviews and photos on the product we've got there. We did some testing because frankly I didn't believe them, but it really does work. It's nice to use too. It doesn't really dust. It's got a really long work time, and the trick here is to combine it with the right pad. So you know how we talked about before that you've got different clear coats on different cars. You know, a European car will have a really hard clear coat, and a Japanese car will have really soft clear coat. You want to adapt to that, but you can use the same one-step polish, and you just change the pad. So the blue pad here is their Euro pad, which is a heavier cut. It's not as heavy as obviously the heavy cut for the 2 steps, but it has that cross hatching in there. It's a firm pad, which you might be able to hear, as opposed to like a softer pad. It's got that square taper for stopping pad roll as well, and it's a very firm, really great pad on a car, on a European clear-coated car. So if you have a European car, this and this is what you want. You don't need these other pads unless you're wanting to do a 2-step. But for me, I'd even consider this, if you did want to get great results fast, you could even sand, even if there's bad defects, to 2000 grit. It's going to be a lot quicker, and then you can polish with this here, and you'll be really impressed with the results. That's on a European car. On other cars, this is going to be too aggressive. On a Asian car with soft paint, maybe it's a Mazda or a Toyota, you want to have a softer pad. Again though, it's got those cuts, because you do want to remove paint, but you want to do it in a soft manner so that you don't end up with marks. And it's all about getting the best results as fast and easy as possible while removing as minimal clear coat as possible. Again, with a square edge. These holes also help with cooling quite a lot. And again, the pad is soft, but it holds its structure, so it's going to allow you to work longer and get a much better result. And these combinations here with the polishes are amazing. If you're not sure with your car, or if it's sort of a more middle of the road, maybe it's a Holden or a Ford Falcon or something, you probably would start with the purple pad. Sometimes you need to experiment and try. I always do a small test spot if I'm not sure on the car, and I know I can step it up to the blue if I want, or I can step it down to the orange. But if you know what you need, then you don't have to have a range of pads. If you've just got all European cars in your garage, then I wouldn't worry with these pads. I would just stick to that, and I'd rather have more pad of the pad that I want. You'll find a professional detailer will change pads much more often. They will do, I normally change pads maybe 3 or 4 times a car, but if I was doing it as a job to be more efficient, I'd probably change every 1 or 2 panels, and I'd get better results, because as you're polishing, the pads get clogged with clear coat that they're removing, and that reduces the cutting ability and the evenness of the polish from your pad and compound. So you want to be clearing that away. Now you could stop and just clean it with a pad or with an airbrush as you're going, and that is good, but the better solution is to swap and get a fresh pad, because it's not just about the clogging, it's also about the heat, because as you polish, the pads are getting hot, and while these pads here are really well made and can handle heat, the more you look after your pads, the longer life you're going to get. A tip on that is to make sure you clean your pads the same day. So if you polish and you end up with polish on your pad like this one here, that polish isn't just on the surface, some of it will have soaked inside the pad. Now if that dries inside your pad overnight, then that can sometimes create little hard spots in the pad, and that will affect the polishing. You won't get an even polish. You can then get marks and you can't figure out where they're coming from. That could be it. So I always recommend cleaning your pads the same day that you use them. Another thing that I recommend, and it's something that's quite different the way they polish in Europe to other places, is they tend to apply it with something like this. So rather than just putting blobs on the pad, they will then spread it with their fingers first on the pad, or they would use like an ice block stick. I mean, I just got a pack of these from Mitre 10 in their sort of crafty section, and they would spread it out, because you want to get a smooth, thin layer on the pad. Not too much, because it'll splatter, but you do want to get it everywhere. So if you get a spot like that that doesn't have much polish on it, potentially that could leave little micro abrasions. Now we're talking here the difference between you know, the 80 and 90% result. So for a lot of people, they wouldn't even notice that. But if you're trying to really up your game, little things like that, it's worth taking the time to just spread evenly and work a bit of the polish into the cuts. Taking a little bit more time up front to do it right, getting everything lined up, will help you get better results faster. With these polishes and pads, you don't need many passes, and you want to make sure you don't overdo it and go right through all the clear coat. So just do a couple of passes and then have a look and see. Always do a test spot and then decide what's working for you. But I mean, they've really done a lot of the thinking for you. If it's a one-step, European, Asian, anything else. And the other thing to think about is that clear coat hardness really tends to change by manufacturer, not by where the country of origin is. So if it's a Mercedes plant that's manufacturing in China, they would still have hard clear coat as if they'd made it in Stuttgart. If there's a Toyota factory in, I don't know, Dusseldorf, I don't think there is, but maybe there is, they would probably have the same soft paint that they would normally use in Japan. So it's more about the manufacturer than where your car was manufactured. You know, what brand is it? If it's a German or European brand, blue. If it's an Asian brand, they call it gold. I know it looks orange, but to a German that's gold. Now, they have another pad, which is really quite an impressive pad. Have a look at that. This is the Black Cloud. It is a very, very soft, very thick. I mean, look at the thickness there. This is 25 mil, this is 30 mil. So there's another 5 mil there on what is already a thick pad. Super soft for doing really finicky paint. If you've got really difficult soft paint, or you're just trying to get to that absolute best possible final finish, this pad really is something special. It's not something most people will use every day, but if you're in that situation, this is a bit of a, well, I think it's a game changer. It's got two layers here. So that orange layer is designed to not just keep the cell, keep the shape of the pad, but it's also as an interface layer to stop, so that if you're doing really soft final finishes, the vibrations and the changing of angles and things of your hand and the polishing machine are isolated from the paint surface. So it helps to allow you to have a much flatter and even polish, which allows you to get better and more consistent results across the whole vehicle. This whole design here is designed to spread and just really cushion the paint surface so that it's nice, soft, gentle and even. And yeah, it's just a really quality pad. Not one that you would use every day, but if you are really trying to win at a car show, or you are you know, have really sticky paint that's just proving really difficult, then this is the pad to go for. If you've got a pad with holograms, this pad, the Asian pad, the final finish polishing pad is really good for it too, but this pad here is really good for just lightly getting rid of holograms. This on a dual action machine like that Rock Car 15, yeah, just makes it a breeze to get rid of polishes. I've been really impressed with these polishes. It's nice and simple. You can get your head around it, but it is the latest technology, and it really makes the polishing process easier, more efficient, and you get amazing results. So I've been really impressed with these German-made products, and I'm hoping we'll get more of them. The other thing worth noting is when we came across these guys, it was actually because we were selling the Rock Car polishing machines, and then we had these Rock Car pads, which we found really great, and what we found out was they're made in Germany, but Rock Car isn't German, so it seems that Autostolz actually make the pads for Rock Car. So some of the pads we have here will have Rock Car on them. They might have a package label that says Rock Car, but they are Autostolz pads. So Autostolz make the pads for Rock Car. It is exactly the same pad. and they are really impressive. So if you'll see some of those pads, if they might be co-branded or they have Autostolz and Rockcar, it's the same thing. Moving forward, we'll shift more to just having the Autostolz pads. Not that it matters. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope I've covered it off. I mean, in polishing, there's so much you can talk about. I'll do some more videos, but I'm also aware attention spans are short sometimes, so hopefully I've covered everything. If not, let us know. We're trying to make more of these videos and answer people's questions, so if you've got any questions, or if I've missed anything, or you think something could have been done better, let me know in the comments or flick us a message, and check out our range at lovecars.co.nz. We really appreciate your support. It allows us to keep going, doing what we love. So yeah, thanks for being a part of Love Cars, and yeah, happy polishing. See ya.